which is a sad thing that we're not giving a whole lot of financial education in schools. Even for my friends who have like business degrees, sometimes when I talk to them, including my husband, okay, he was like, they didn't teach us these things. I'm going to be sharing 7 mistakes I made in my 20s when it came to money, what I've learned, and if you watch to the end of this video, how I have fixed or I'm fixing those mistakes that I made in my 20s now that I am in my 30s. This year I turned 38, and what that means is that in less than 2 years I will be turning 40. And as I have been reflecting on this very humbling fact, I look back at a lot of things I've done right for sure, but when it comes to money, I think I've made quite a few mistakes. Now, if you know me, I'm a very frugal person. I'm not much of a spendthrift. I am very much a homebody, so you will see me mostly at home and not out there shopping or doing all these things. Nonetheless, I do believe that there are several money mistakes I made in my 20s that if I knew about those things in my 20s, I wouldn't have done those things. And you know, if you're in your 20s and you're watching this video, then hey, this is my gift to you so that when you're my age, things will be much, much better, okay? The first mistake was just really thinking about money passively and not having an active hand in my own money. And when I say that, what I mean is, I was working, I was getting paychecks, and I was essentially just drifting from month to month. I didn't make any budgets. I didn't have a plan to pay off any debts I had. Like, you know, the money came and the money went, and I didn't really have a plan. I was really, really passive about my money. And I want to encourage you that it doesn't matter if you're making $100 or you're making $1,000 or you're making $10,000 a month. If you are not actively involved in your money, right? And when I say actively involved, like, where is your money going? Have an idea of where the money is going. And this is one of the mistakes that I made in the beginning, is I really was passive about my money. So if you are earning any sort of money, okay, please know how much is coming in, how much is going out at the end of each year, or even at the end of each month. Like, have a way to balance everything out, and you'll be surprised, because sometimes you don't realize maybe you're spending a lot of money eating out, or you don't realize you're spending a lot of money on all these subscriptions that you've forgotten about, right? Because it's automatic, it comes out automatically. So really taking a hard look at where your money is going and how much money is coming in is going to help you take control of your money quickly, so that you can begin to make all the other wise decisions that need to be made when it comes to your money. Second mistake is not learning early enough what my mindset was around money. And here's the thing, I think in a lot of cultures around the world, rich people, wealthy people, people that have money are portrayed in a very, very negative light. I've even seen it here on YouTube. I've seen it, I used to be part of a financial blogging community, and I saw it there, not in the community, but when people would put out like blog posts about how I paid off my debt, and there would be people in the comments like just slamming them for paying off their debt. And I used to wonder, like, why do we have such an aversion? Why, as human beings, do we have such an aversion to people, making strides with their money or paying off their debt or being wealthy? Why do we have such an aversion to that? Now, I didn't really know what my relationship with money was or what my mindset around money was, but now looking back, I realized that I used to think, even though I didn't have that mindset that, wealthy people are terrible people. Now, there may be some wealthy people who are terrible people, but not everybody who is wealthy is unethical or wrong. And so I think for me, my mindset around that, and if you have had some of these mindsets, by the way, let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to know what your mindset around money has been. But I think my mindset around money was, well, there were certain income levels that were preserved for certain people, and maybe one day I'll get to the 6-figure level, and maybe one day I'll get to millionaire status, but that's for some people, not maybe me, right? And I think that you may not realize that you have these kind of money mindsets, but you really need to sit down and think about it. Because one of the things, and another thing too, I used to say quite a bit, which I stopped myself from saying, because I realized that, first of all, words are powerful, guys. Like, I really do believe that words are powerful. I'm a Christian, and I believe that words are powerful, okay? And the words you speak, okay, create lots of things, can create a lot of things in your life. So I used to say, oh, I don't have money. Oh, I'll never be this. I used to say that quite a bit. And I realized that back then, in retrospect, back then, I was always struggling. Like, it's always like struggling with money. But then one day I caught myself and I said, you know what, Gertrude, you really need to change how you think about money, how you speak about money, how you speak about yourself, okay? So things you wouldn't say to other people, don't say them to yourself. Stop saying bad things to yourself, okay? So I really had to nip that in the bud. And I noticed that when I stopped talking negatively about money, and I also began to educate myself more on money and business and just growing in that arena, that things got better for me. Did things change overnight? No, they didn't change overnight. I don't think it's any kind of miraculous switch, but things did change. And so you really have to take stock of what you think about money. And if there is something faulty about it, you need to change that. The next mistake was not investing in the stock market earlier. Listen, this mistake, let me pull out my Ghanaian accent. This mistake, I keep on beating myself over a little bit because I realize now that even when I was in college, I could have started. Investing doesn't take a whole lot of money. Now, for those of you that have jobs that have retirement accounts attached to those, usually when you work, when you get paid, or when you sign off for a job, you will definitely sign some kind of agreement that says, I want this much money to be taken out of my paycheck and put into my retirement account. At least that's how most of the 9 to 5 jobs I've worked, that's how they work. And so there is an automatic deduction taken from my paycheck and into what's known as a 401k account. If you live in the United States, this is a really common thing. I don't know what exists in other countries, but I think there are some similar programs like that. Okay, now you should educate yourself about your 401k program. You should sign into that account and you should learn what your money is doing in there. Okay, it's really, really important. When I got my first job out of my PhD, I didn't even know that I was getting this money to a 401k account until my husband kept on prompting me to check. And finally, when I checked, there was this account where money was being put in every single month that I had been working there for almost 3 years. And the money had grown and it was my money. Okay, it was my money, and learning that was so game changing for me. But apart from these retirement accounts that are attached to a job, all right, you're also able to open private investment accounts outside of retirement account. There are several types of investment accounts out there that you could look into, that you could research, that you could put your money into. And so that was another area where I began to learn and grow in, and began to also invest that way. That with that one, your work has nothing to do with that. You manage everything yourself. You choose the different investments yourself. And that also has been game changing. And like I shared in the video where I talked about my 8 income streams, I mentioned investment accounts as one of those income streams. I do not take that money and spend on myself. Because some of the money that you get in investment accounts pay you dividends. And what that means is that every quarter, right? So every 3 months, based on how much specific companies have grown, right? The company may pay you a dividend to say thank you for investing in their company. Okay, not every company pays out dividends, but there are a lot of companies that pay out dividends. And so what some people do is that they use this as an actual way to like get money and spend. But for me, when I get paid dividends, I don't spend it, I just reinvest it. The next mistake, okay, would be that I wish I had stayed away from credit cards. Now I know that there is a lot of argument, there is a lot of controversy around debt, all that in the world out there. My personal position on debt is that I'd like to be free of it. I just don't like the idea of paying money to some entity over and over again and not only do you pay the amount you took out, but you pay interest. And that interest alone over time can be more than the actual money you borrowed. So I just wish I had stayed away from credit cards in my 20s. Back then, I thought that having credit cards was such a great way to build my credit. And I do think that having credit cards and using them wisely can definitely build your credit. But back then I had no money sense. Okay, no money sense. Thankfully, I was able to pay all them credit cards off and cancel every single one of them, save one that I still have, I still use, but I have learned so much more since those early days. I just wish I didn't accumulate a lot of credit card debt, and I'm so thankful that I have paid off 95% of it and just have the one card where, once a while I will use it. I do not use credit cards for emergencies. I don't recommend it. Again, this is a personal thing. I do have an emergency fund, right? As a family, we have an emergency fund, and if emergencies come up, we pull from that. So the credit card really isn't an emergency thing. Really, right now, what a credit card serves in my life, the only credit card I have, really is to build and improve my credit. So that's the only reason I haven't, and I hardly use it. So that's a money mistake I wish I had avoided back in my 20s. Now, saying that, I also know that credit card debt is only one type of debts. There are car loans, there's mortgages, there are student loans, and all these are different forms of debts that people may have. And one thing that I personally have learned is that there is so much freedom in not handing over my hard-earned money to somebody's bank every single month, especially when that thing could be repossessed, when that thing could destroy me financially. Again, I know there's a lot of controversy around this, and you may have your own opinions around this, and I respect those opinions, but this is just my personal stance on this. Okay, so again, I'm about to step into some controversial waters, okay? But money tends to be controversial. So this mistake, I don't think I made a mistake. Okay, hear me out. I don't think I made a mistake with regards to this, but I think it's a mistake that you can make in your 20s. You can make when you're young, is marrying the wrong person. I'm not saying I made that mistake. Honey, if you're watching this, you know me and you. I love you, okay? But what I want to say here, I wanted to chip this into what I was saying, because it's important to marry the right person who is with you. At least you guys have the same ideas around money and you agree what your money will be doing. Because I have seen people get into relationships that have destroyed their financial life, and I pray that that never happens to you, okay? Because it can be very miserable, it can be very heart-wrenching, it can be very devastating for people in relationships, marital, sometimes even non-marital relationships, where people's finances have been destroyed by the person that the person they're in a relationship with. So I really do believe that if you are going to be married, that you marry somebody that, apart from the fact that you love them, they're also with you on the same wavelength when it comes to money, okay? And this may be a really important conversation for y'all to have before you get married. I know it was something that we talked about quite a bit, and even though we talked about it quite a bit, when we got married, there were a few things to work out. Thankfully, we worked them out really well. But there's a reason why finances are one of the top reasons people get divorced. There is a reason, okay? Okay. The next mistake is I wish I had learned more about real estate investing. And by real estate investing, I mean, there are different forms of real estate investing. For me specifically, when I'm talking about real estate investing, I wish I'd learned more about like rentals. I wish I'd learned a little bit more about acquiring land and building with the little bit of money that I had, especially because I'm originally from Ghana in West Africa, and definitely real estate is slightly cheaper than it would be in the United States, but for some reason I would always think that I didn't have enough money to acquire land. And this is something common that happens in Ghana, that people will buy land and they will have that land in their families for generations, and over time the land appreciates. That's one asset that we know tends to appreciate over time. And then the land that they bought for dirt cheap some years ago becomes like premium prime land 20 years later. And so now, thinking back to when I was in my 20s and what the prices of lands were back then, I realized that, man, I could have bought some lands. I could have been like some rich woman, but that is not what happened. And I've learned more now, and definitely now where we are right now, my husband and I have acquired land, and we're really, really happy that we were able to do that. We plan on purchasing more land in the future. In Ghana, even in the US, God willing, I'm looking forward to that as well, having land that we own, and that's a family asset. I wish I'd learned more about that. And so for this tends to be a little bit more of an investment, but I will say educate yourself about it. You may be shocked to learn that there is land in your area, in your vicinity, in your state, in your country that is not that expensive, and you could buy that land. And even if you don't plan to develop that land or build on that land right now, it could be an asset for you later on. So it's something to think about. So in every job, every corporate job that I've been in so far, I've had health insurance, and there are certain financial benefits that come with health insurance. And back in my 20s when I had great health insurance, I am now sorry that I didn't use it more. Let me tell you something. Health is wealth. Okay. I have worked in the healthcare field. I am a biomedical professional, and healthcare is expensive. Okay, especially if you live in the US, healthcare is expensive. And I think healthcare is expensive generally around the world. Hospital stays are expensive. Medication is expensive. Treatments are expensive. And so health ends up being wealth. If you have your health, you're wealthy. Okay, it's a blessing to have good health. And now in hindsight, I realized there were benefits that came with my health insurance programs that I wish I had taken advantage of. That, I wish, I had, for instance, when it comes to dental work, I don't have cavities, I don't have anything like that, but there were certain things I could have done with my health insurance, with my dental insurance, that would have been at a much lower cost, and they wouldn't be expensive problems later on. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you have health insurance, okay, find out all the benefits you get with your health insurance, and please utilize them. Because when I was in my PhD program, okay, but the PhD program I was in had an excellent health insurance program. That was the health insurance I used when I had my baby. And trust me, when that bill came for having just one little baby, stay in a hospital for 3 days, that bill, I'll tell you right now, was over $25,000. Okay. When it came, the health insurance had paid about 96% of that. There was very little for us to take care of. And it showed me how powerful that health insurance was. So anyway, my point is that your health insurance there's some hidden financial benefits in there that you may not be realizing. I did not realize it until much later. I had that health insurance for almost 6 years. And the only thing I really did with that health insurance was have a baby, which is a great thing. But there were so many more benefits I could have taken advantage of. Now, this one is not a mistake. It's sort of like something that is ongoing, that we should all be doing, is continually educating yourself on money. It's so important that you continually educate yourself about the financial system in the place where you're living. Because the thing that I've learned is that there is a game being played around each one of us. There is a game going on, okay? And you are part of that game. But if you're not careful, you're going to be completely oblivious to that game until time is almost over, right? And that is what I don't want to happen to you. So, read books, ingest videos, podcasts, learn about different things, and the way that I like to learn is to do on-time learning, so that I will focus, for a month or two on a specific thing. So if it's like I'm learning all about dividend investing, now I'll focus on that for a little while, right, and implement what I've learned, and then move on to the next thing, so that I'm not overwhelmed all the time. And again, this is a mistake I made back then, that if I had a lot of financial education, right? Which is a sad thing, that we're not giving a whole lot of financial education in schools. Even for my friends who have like business degrees, sometimes when I talk to them, including my husband, okay, he was like, they didn't teach us these things. They just taught you how to be in a corporate job and to succeed. They didn't really teach us about how the stock market works and such. So please, these things are now being introduced into certain curriculums, but it's not mainstream. And so really, it's important that you learn about the game that's being played around you, so that you can make wise decisions and not make mistakes that you regret until much later.